Hello everyone, welcome to High Tech Study Plus. Today we are going to discuss something about matter in our surroundings. First of all, let us know what is matter. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space. These two aspects make a particular thing matter. Let us consider this cuboid. This cuboid has got some volume which is given by length into breadth into height, plus it also has mass. Let us consider that we take this box and suppose the weight of this box is 2 kg. Thus we conclude that it has a mass and it has a volume. This means it occupies space. Thus this object is a matter and it is a solid. We will be studying further in our lecture. Next, let us discuss about the physical nature of matter. The first is matter is made up of particles. For a very long time, two schools of thoughts existed. One school of thought said that matter is continuous, like a block of wood. Let us consider this block of wood that I have drawn here. It is continuous. The block of wood is continuous. The matter are continuous and the particles are sticked closely to each other. In the other school of thought, they said that matter is made up of particles like sand. These are sand particles. Here we see there are dots. These dots represent individual sand particles. If we take a handful of sand, then we can fill all the particles. For a very long time, these two schools of thought existed. Now, let us consider the activity which has been given in the book. If some salt or sugar is added to a glass of water and it is stirred with the help of a glass rod or spoon while we make nimbu pani, it is observed that the water level does not change, and after some time the substance that we have taken, that is salt or sugar, starts dissolving in the water, and after some time it becomes dissolved completely. So this shows that matter is made up of particles. Next, the color of potassium permanganate solution keeps on decreasing if we take water from one beaker and we add it in another beaker, as I have shown here. So the color changes from one beaker, the second beaker, to the last beaker. The color becomes light. This shows that the particles of matter are very small. A few crystals of potassium permanganate can color a large volume of water. So we conclude that there must be millions of teeny particles in just one crystal of potassium permanganate. And these particles, they keep on dividing themselves into smaller and smaller particles. So thus we conclude that the particles of matter are very small. Next, let us discuss about the characteristics of the particles of matter. The first most important characteristic is there is space between the particles of matter. For example, we had considered the sugar solution in our previous discussion. This sugar solution shows us that particle of one type, that is sugar that we had considered, gets into the space between the particles of other type. Suppose this is liquid and here drawn in red color is a sugar crystal. Suppose we consider that the red dots are the molecules of water and yellow dot is a crystal of sugar. This crystal of sugar gets in between the space of the molecules of water and thus it mixes with the water. In case of solids, these particles are stuck very close to one another. Consider the four particles 1, 2, 3 and 4. They are very close to one another. In case of liquid, these are a bit far apart. Whereas in case of gases, these are very far apart. Thus we conclude that the space between the particles is highest in case of gas and lowest in case of solid, and in case of liquid it is an intermediate between the solids and gaseous state. Second is the particles of matter are continuously moving, that is they move from one place to another. And suppose this is a ball and this ball moves in a particular direction towards the east, and it has some kind of velocity v. Due to this motion, the particle possesses a kind of energy, and this energy is referred to as the kinetic energy. Thus, the atoms or the particles of matter, they possess kinetic energy due to their motion. If the temperature increases, then the particles start moving faster. And if the particles start moving faster, then their velocity also increases, due to which their kinetic energy also increases. Now, combining these two aspects, let us know what is diffusion. The intermixing of particles of two different types on their own is known as diffusion. For example, if we stand in a corner and we light an incense stick in another corner of the room, then we can smell it from a distance. This occurs due to diffusion. If we heat it, or on heating, diffusion becomes faster. The third is particles of matter attract each other. Force keeps the particles together. In case of a solid, the atoms are very close to one another. There must be something that is binding them. This is nothing but the interparticle force that keeps them together. In case of solid, these particles 1, 2, 3, 4 lie very close to one another. This suggests that there must be some kind of force that is exerted by one particle on the another, or due to which they remain together. Our earth moves around the sun due to gravitational force. Similarly, in solids, liquids and gas, there is certain force that exists between the particles. This is nothing but the intermolecular force between the particles. In case of solid, if we consider 1, 2, 3, 4 to be the molecules of this solid, then they are very close to one another. Thus, the intermolecular force is minimum in case of gas and maximum in case of solid, whereas the intermolecular distance is maximum in case of gas and minimum in case of solid. And in liquid, these two aspects are an intermediate in between those of solids and gases. Next, let us discuss about the states of matter. There are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid and gases. These states, they arise due to the variation in the characteristics of particles. The characteristics like the distance between the particles, their energy and so on. The first state is solid. Consider this cube in the right hand side. This cube has a volume a cube, and this volume is a constant for a given cube, and it has got distinct boundaries. We can say that this is the boundary of this cube. Thus, it is a solid. So, what are the properties of solid? They have a definite shape, they have distinct boundaries, they have fixed volume, they have a tendency to maintain their shape when subjected to outside force. Suppose we try to stretch a rubber band and then we leave it all of a sudden. It comes back to its original shape. These solids may break if subjected to a force or a greater force. Now we try to stretch a rubber band with more force, then it breaks into two. But it is difficult to change the shape of the solids. That's why they are said to be rigid. Liquids. Consider the liquid in the glass and in a flat surface. The liquid in the glass has a volume, and in the tumbler also it has got certain volume. If we take same amount of liquid in both of this, then it has a fixed volume, but it has no fixed shape. Why? Because it takes the shape of the container in which it is kept. Thus we say that liquids are not rigid. They have a tendency to flow and change their shape as per the container in which they are kept. Thus they are called fluid. Solids are called rigid, said to be rigid, and liquids are said to be fluids. Diffusion in fluids. Let us take some examples of diffusion of solid in fluids. The sugar solution that we had considered, the solution of sugar in water is such an example. Liquid in liquid diffusion, example is milk and water. Gas in liquid diffusion, dissolved oxygen, due to which thousands and millions of aquatic animals are able to survive in the oceans. The rate of diffusion is greater in case of liquid than solid. Why does this happen? Because as we have seen earlier, the intermolecular distance or the distance between the particles in liquid is more as compared to solid. So they have a tendency to move freely because they have got more space and have greater space as compared to the solid. So the rate of diffusion in case of liquid is more than that in solid. Third state of matter is gas. Gases are highly compressible. In our homes, we use LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. It is a compressed gas. It is not in liquid state, it is in gaseous state, but it has been compressed. Now, the smell of fruit from our kitchen reaches our nostrils very fast. We are able to smell it, what food our mother has cooked, and so on. This is because of diffusion. Particles of gas move randomly at high speed. So the particles have a chance of hitting each other as well as they have a chance of hitting the walls of the container. So the pressure exerted by the gas is because of the force they exert in the wall per unit area. We know that pressure is equal to force by area. So the pressure exerted by the gas in the walls of the container is due to the force they exert per unit area. Let us consider this balloon. There are various particles here shown by blue color. These particles, they hit out the walls of the balloon as well as they hit one another as they move along. Now let us take the example of the atmosphere, the blanket of air that surrounds the earth. It exerts pressure on the surface of the earth. This is known as atmospheric pressure. So in today's class we have discussed about the various states of matters and the various physical properties associated with matters. Thank you everyone. Stay tuned for more such videos. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Feel free to share your doubts in the comment section. And if you want us to make a video on any specific topic of class 9th and 10th, then do share it in the comment section. Thank you.